Welcome to the Visibility Project podcast.
Welcome to the Visibility Project podcast.
Welcome to the Visibility Project podcast.
Started by a group of citizens in a small Michigan town with a like-minded goal
of increasing the visibility
of the unseen and unheard populations in our community.
Our guests will share stories and insights
with the goal of increasing our awareness and knowledge
of various aspects of diversity and equity
to create a more connected, empathetic, and inclusive community.
So, let's get to work.
Let's get to work.
So let's get to work.
So, let's get to work.
Let's get to work.
Today we are reconnecting with Raheef Alturkmani, Senior Talent Acquisition Specialist and the MENA Employee Resource Group Global Chair at Dow. Raheef supports inclusion, diversity, and equity within North America talent acquisition and manages partnerships between the North America Talent Acquisition Team and Dow Employee Resource Groups. Raheef also leads the People with Disabilities Hiring Task Force, the Talent Connection Committee, and supports several diversity programs and external partnerships. Raheef has been with Dow for about 8 years, spent them all in HR in several HR disciplines, including compensation, HR merger and acquisition, talent management, and talent acquisition. Raheef has a Master's of Business Administration and a Master's of Science in Industrial Relations, both from West Virginia University. Raheef also enjoys teaching classes at Northwood as an adjunct professor in international management and organizational behavior classes. Raheef lives in Midland, Michigan with his wife and children and enjoys spending time with his family, reading, and playing soccer, basketball, and table tennis. Welcome back to the podcast. This is your host today, Amy Phoenix, and today I am here with guest Raheef Alturkmani, who is a community member here who has been on our podcast before, back in 2020, with Umbereen Jamil sharing about the Islamic faith. And today Raheef is here with us to share more about his personal journey coming to the United States, his community work here in Midland. And I just want to welcome you here today, Raheef.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So share a little bit about yourself. What brings you to the podcast today?
Absolutely. Raheef Alturkmani. I am originally from Syria, a small country in the Middle East. I was born and raised there, and I got my education there. Then in 2008, actually, I moved to Saudi Arabia, and I worked for a company over there, lived in Saudi for about 3 years, and then I came to the United States back in 2011. I got my MBA from West Virginia University, and then I studied there, or I worked there for about 3 years, and while I was working as at the Dean's office and also as an adjunct professor, I enrolled in another master's program, and I got that Master of Science in Human Resources. And based on that, I joined the Dow Human Resources Development Program late 2015. And since then, I've been with Dow. I moved to Midland in 2015. I didn't hear about Midland before that. But through Dow, I came here, and I think it was one of the best decisions in my life. My family and I, we love being here. We have great friends. We have been participating in a lot of activities and events, especially with the events related to one of my three passions, that is inclusion. So I have passion for three things: human resources, inclusion, and teaching, and I'm sure we will touch on these topics as we discuss in this podcast. So came here in 2015 and worked for Dow. My whole career with Dow is in the HR field, but in different HR disciplines. I did compensation, I did content management, I did talent management, and right now my current role, I'm the Senior North America Talent Acquisition Specialist for Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity. So that's my main role, is to support inclusion within the North America Talent Acquisition team, and managing the partnership between the talent acquisition team and the 10 employee resource groups that we have, to ensure that we have more diverse talent pool. And when we talk diversity, we're talking about all types of diversity, not only the ethnic diversity or the race diversity. We cover all of types of diversity. So when we get that talent pool diverse enough, we can hopefully get more diverse workforce. And throughout the journey of talent, making sure that the processes, the policies, the programs are inclusive to all diverse candidates. So inclusion and diversity are two key parts of my role.
Thank you.
In addition to that, I lead one of the 10 ERGs or employee resource groups that I mentioned. My ERG is called MENA, Middle East and North Africa. And our main goal in that ERG is to bring awareness about the MENA region, break stereotypes about the MENA population and the MENA culture, and also help MENA descent employees like myself to feel included, to feel welcomed, and to give them the platform to share their backgrounds, share their culture with other DAO colleagues, and also in the communities that we live in, including Midland for sure. And I think we will talk about some of the activities that I had the pleasure and the honor to participate in here in Midland.
Definitely. I would love to hear more about all of what you just shared. So I will share some questions with you. I'd like to back up a little bit first, if you're okay with that. I'd like to understand more what brought you to the United States. What was it like where you were, and what really fueled that move to the United States?
Sure. So prior to 2011, the political situation in Syria was relatively stable. Mm-hmm. It was not the best democratic country, but it was stable. Right, starting 2011, after the Syrian revolution started, and several players came to that country, to that region, including those who want to make a country within my country, the situation became very unstable. But I came to the United States even before this whole thing started. When I started my college, actually, I had a brother here in the United States who's still here. He came here in 2001. And when I started my bachelor degree, he called me, congratulated me for starting my Bachelor of Economics journey. And he said, once you graduate, you should come to the United States and get your MBA. I didn't know what MBA was back then, but since I started college, my goal was to come to the United States to advance my education. So that was the main purpose of coming here. Then in 2006, 2007, my other brother came here, and then they both helped me and supported me to come here in 2011. And of course, I was able to support myself a little bit with because you have a lot of expenses associated with coming here, not only the travel and the stay, but also the cost of getting the degree, the tuition and fees. So it was, I was really encouraged by my two brothers, by my mother, who's literally a role model for me. She supported my elder brother and then my second brother and then me to actually come here and advance our education. And she was kind of the financial advisor for me, because she was like, when I worked in Saudi, I used to make good money, and you don't pay taxes in Saudi. I don't know if you know that or not. There is no income tax, so whatever your contract says, you get that money. But without my mother's guidance and reminders that you have to save money to advance your education, etc., I wouldn't probably be able to save the money, because you get the money, you spend the money. That's I think it's a global theme. So she was able to encourage me to keep me focused on my goal to come to the United States, and came here, got my education, got my degrees, and started a career here. I never planned not to go back to the region or to Syria. Unfortunately, at this time, Syria is not an option for me to go back to. In the near future, I may consider going back to the region, bringing the knowledge, the experience that I had from here to help, advance and develop, within my capacity, help the region become better, whether it's the Gulf countries or the Middle East or North Africa. And these opportunities are available through Dow, but I don't know exactly when that will happen, and when it happens, will I and my family be ready to make that move or not? But it's something on my radar. It's something that I do keep connections with my colleagues in the MENA region, just to see whenever an opportunity comes up. I would consider that because I want to stay connected with the culture, with the region. In the house, we only speak the Arabic language. We watch Arabic TV series. Our food is Mediterranean usually. So as much as we love many of the great things about the American culture, we are also proud of the Middle Eastern culture that we have, and we are trying to get the best out of these two.
Oh, yes, that's wonderful. And you have children too,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, I have two kids, Omar, who is 5 years old, or will be 5 in June, and Maria will be 3 in June as well. Fun fact about my two kids, they were both born on the same day, 2 years apart. So,
Okay.
this does not happen very frequently. So we have one birthday celebration for both of them, and we have been able to do like 2 themes in one party, but the older they get, the challenge will become a little bit more, I think, to find like the creative way to always have 2 themes within one party. So hopefully they will enjoy that. They will think of it as a positive thing, and it will not be a competition whose birthday will be like nicer. Another fun fact related to dates, I get married on my birthday.
Okay.
So I only have like 2-3 dates to remember in my mind, and that would be it. I don't forget anything. So that's my 2 kids. Omar will go to kindergarten this fall, and we know this is going to be a big shift for us in the family. He's going to be our first kid to go to an actual school. He goes to school now, but it's like a pre-K, and before that he went to Montessori school. But we know that kindergarten is a little bit different. It's like a legit school,
Yes.
So we'll see how that goes. We, in my culture, staying late at night is more popular, I would say, than here. So myself and my wife, we used to stay up, like when we were 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, we would stay up until midnight, and then we'll go to sleep. With Umar and Maria, my 2 kids, they also love to stay up later in the night, but we'll see. This probably should change in the future. But it's amazing how when we compare ourselves with like our American families, like they would tell us our kids go to sleep at 8 or at 8:30. We don't know that. Their nap, yesterday actually, funny, Maria took her nap at 8 p.m. Like that was her nap for the day, and then she woke up at 9 p.m. and then we stayed up like until after midnight. So we know there will be some adjustments needed, but we are excited for that.
Yes. As a mom of 5, I can relate to some people are on different schedules.
Mm-hmm.
So, and yes, we adjust, right?
Yeah.
Are the hours different in Syria for the schooling, or how does that go?
They are a little bit shorter. So when I went to school, it was 7:30 to 12:30 or to 1:30. But we used to go 6 days a week. So cultural moment here.
Yeah.
Friday is the weekend holiday kind of in the Middle East.
Okay.
So it's kind of equivalent to Sunday here.
Okay.
So growing up, Friday was always the no school, no work day. Saturday is in some countries it is part of the weekend, other countries no. So when I grew up, Saturday was a regular day. Like you go, it's the beginning of the week. Sunday is you're already in the week. Like it's almost a Tuesday here if you compare. But some countries have changed that. Some countries have Thursday and Friday as the weekend. Some countries have Friday and Saturday as the weekend. And in almost all countries in the Middle East and North Africa, except Lebanon, Sunday is a working day. Like people go to school, go to work. So we used to have shorter period of time. So kids would not spend that much time at school as they would do here. And there weren't much of like after school activities or the things that you see here. So even the education system is a little bit newer to me, but my two elder brothers have their kids here, so I kind of aware of what to expect for kindergarten and then eventually for elementary and after that. And of course I have friends who have younger kids as well, but it's definitely a different education system. One very simple example, but it tells you how different things are. In English you write left to right. In Arabic you write right to left. So even when you open a book, in English you would open it, from the left to right. In Arabic it's the opposite. And I don't have a problem with that because I grew up learning Arabic and English in school, but with my son Umar, we would love him to learn the Arabic language as well, so it's not only speaking but also writing and reading. So he needs to invest more time and effort to learn the two languages, and hopefully he will thank us later for that, because he will hopefully grow up bilingual.
Yes. I'm curious about when you share these stories about your family here now and your children and the adjustments I'm sure that you've made and will continue to make. How do you feel like your mom, I know she was the financial advisor, but how do you feel like your mom prepared you for the transitions that you went through to come here?
Yeah. Well, my mother supported me, provided I would say the emotional support, the encouragement, the keeping me on track for the financial requirements that are needed here, keep that goal on ahead of me. But my two brothers actually helped me prepare a little bit more, because they were here in the United States, so I would reach out to them and ask them whether it was with the application process or after I came here, whether it's related to renting a house and finding a good place to buy the furniture from, and in addition to that, these cultural things that you don't necessarily pay attention to, or you grew up doing things in a certain way, but here you do it a little bit differently to be perceived, or to be more respectful to others, because some things are totally different. And to give you an example, in the Middle East, it's totally appropriate for two guys when they meet to exchange kisses on the cheeks with each other, and that's totally appropriate, and people do it all the time in the streets. You don't see this happening here. So when I meet a close friend here, we don't do this cheek kissing. We just do a quick hug. A warm and strong hug, but if we meet in the Middle East, it will be kisses on both sides of the cheek. So these simple things, but they do impact the way that you live. And after 12 years in the United States, I think I learned a lot, and I was able to luckily adjust for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So your brothers really prepared you for the cultural
transition. I think so. They helped a lot, and obviously there were things that I learned by myself as well, based on my personal experiences, etc.
Yeah. So your inclusion efforts have been underway before your children were born.
Yes.
You were in that work.
Yes.
And I know that those are, the inclusion, your faith, these are some very important aspects of who you are. Can you share more? Why are these aspects important to you, Raheef?
Yeah, I'll start with the inclusion efforts. To me personally, being of a diverse background in the United States, I feel that I had, over time, I am able now to be vocal about who I am, vocal about my background, proudly share my background. I don't feel this is the case for all the diverse individuals. And again, regardless of what diversity they bring to the table, because I believe that every person is a diverse person. They bring different perspectives and different backgrounds. And you can name any diversity type. So to me, I am able to advocate for myself. I want to help everyone to actually advocate for themselves as well, be the best person to wherever they are, whether at school, at work. So with my inclusion efforts at Dow, again, one of our goals is to make people of MENA descent specifically feel included and comfortable and have the platform to share who they are without having to hide anything of their identity. They don't have to hide their background, their cultural celebrations, anything. You can be who you are. You can bring your whole authentic self to work. And this applies to other types of diversity as well. So that's one major reason why I'm doing this. The connection with the religion or the Islamic faith, believe it or not, Islam has addressed the topic of inclusion more than 1400 years ago. And one example that I use always is there is a saying or a hadith that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said. Again, remember, this is 1400 years ago. He said, no white person is better than a black person, and no black person is better than a white person, except with their, except, I'm trying to translate off the top of my head, except that if the person is more cautious or more or better worshiper for God, then that would be the preference criteria. So it's not about the skin color, it's not about who you are, it's not about your social status, it's about how much you fear God and love God and worship God. And so that is to me, it's the base of inclusion. There are two types of connections that people have. One is the connection with other people, and the other one is the connection with God. So if you are good with other people, if you are good with God, then you're a good person. Otherwise, you have to work on yourself to become better.
Thank you for that too. What benefits do you really see of the inclusion efforts that are made at your work, but also in the community?
Yeah, I see this firsthand because in many occasions, I would be in Maya and people would approach me and say, hey, we saw you in this event, or we listened to your podcast, or we saw your interview on YouTube, or so it's making an impact in a way that people are getting to know more about my culture and my background, and they can understand the differences a little bit more, and they hear it from someone from the region, from the faith, and as opposed to hearing it from the news or from media. I think one of the main challenges that face the Muslim community and the Middle Eastern and North African community is that people sometimes make judgment based on what they heard or what they learned from discussions with their family members, or based on maybe a negative experience that they had with a specific person from that region or that faith. But on the other hand, keep in mind that there are 2 billion Muslims in the world, and if they are as bad as some of the media is telling us how bad the Muslims are, then the world will be in a much worse situation. The vast majority of Muslims, of these 2 billion Muslims around the world, are just regular, average Muslims like myself, who want to have a good life, who wants to have good relationships with their community, with their friends, who want to be good people in the community that they live in. And I hope that myself, my wife, and my kids will be good people. We try to be as engaged in the community as we can. I can share some examples of what I have been recently able to do through, like, in the community related to the inclusion effort. So I participated in 2 nights at 2 of the elementary schools here in Midland, the Woodcrest Elementary School and also the Chestnut Hill. They had a night called We All Belong night, and I participated there as the MENA region. The families of kids, or even the teachers, they had tables or booths for countries, and we participated there as MENA, and we interacted with the kids. We showed them some coins and items from the MENA region, and the kids were very open to learning more about a different culture, about another culture. So that's in the elementary school. Recently, I participated also in an event called the Human Library, and I don't know how much the listeners will know about the Human Library, so I can explain this very briefly. The concept is that just like you go to a library and you choose a book to read, you do the same with the Human Library, but the difference is that the book is the person. So I participated as a human book, and people would come to me and ask me any question that they have in their mind. I start the conversation with the group by saying things like, I will be an open book for you. You can ask me any question. I will not be offended. And if there is anything I cannot share with you, I will just tell you that this chapter is not ready to be published yet. I participated with a couple of Dow colleagues actually in the Dow High School Human Library event in April, and before that, I believe in March, we participated in the Human Library event at the Midland High School as well. It was an amazing experience, and great discussions with the high school students. They ask very good questions, and they want to learn more. They are open to learn more. So hopefully these generations, the elementary school and high school students, hopefully will have this inclusion topic on top of their minds when they interact with other individuals growing up.
Yes, it's such a beautiful example and experience you're offering for not only the community, but your family, your children. I just think of how that's got to be impacting them, being in an environment where people may look at differences. They're young, but kids don't necessarily start that. It's usually older people, but it can still happen. So I wonder, how do your efforts, do you think, impact and benefit your family? What kind of conversations do you all have that support the kids?
And actually, one of the main drivers of why I'm doing this right now, in addition, like to my personal passion, is that I want Midland and maybe even the United States or maybe even the world to be more inclusive in a way that my son and my daughter, they can grow up here in Midland, proud of their Muslim identity, proud of their Middle Eastern identity, as well as proud of their American identity. They are both American citizens, so I will encourage them to be very proud of that as well. So hopefully they will be able to capture the best values and the best characters from these backgrounds that they have, from these culture that they hold. So they are proud of their Muslim identity, and they follow the Islamic teachings, and in being good people, worshiping God, etc. Also from a cultural perspective, stay connected to the MENA culture. Don't easily remove the ties, remove the connection with the region. And also be proud of their American identity, where there are also great values in that we truly appreciate in the United States, particularly the freedom of speech and freedom of religion. Like, I feel that I can practice Islam here in the United States more than I was able to in my own country in Syria. Without getting too much into politics, but in the United States, you can, for example, today, actually, a Friday, I deliver a speech or a ceremony in the congregation that takes place in the Islamic Center of Midland. And we don't have a designated imam or leader for the Islamic Center of Midland, so it's 5 of us rotating on delivering that speech every Friday. So if I want to do this back home in Syria, I would have to get permission from the government, permission from the security administration, and I have to go through a lot of paperwork, and I will very likely get disapproved. And if I get approved, the government will have like topics and bullet points that I should cover in that speech. Here, I can choose any topic that I want, any relevant topic, and no one comes and asks me like, why did you choose this? Or so I feel that freedom of religion is very important, that I am living it here. Freedom of speech, like just having this conversation about what's happening in Syria, I wouldn't be able to do that if I am in Syria, unfortunately. So there are great values here. I will do all my efforts so my kids grow up seeing the beauty of or the appreciating the values of both the American culture and the Middle Eastern culture, as well as the Islamic faith.
That's a broad offering to your kids. And it just ripples out into your community. It's like it goes out and it comes back in. And
yes.
I wonder, what do you feel like the experiences you've had that you've described with inclusion, with coming here, with really prioritizing these as in aspects of your life, what has it opened up for you in your experience as a person, as a father, a husband, a man of faith?
So we'll start with the inclusion efforts within DAO through my employee resource group or ERG contributions and leadership position that I'm very humble and proud to hold as well. It opened a lot of doors for me in terms of exposure, networking, participating in events, even like within DAO or in the community. Because when I participate in an event, someone would be in that event and they ask me to participate in something else. Or someone would see me and invite me to a podcast, just like you did. So it's the more opportunities and the more engagement I have, I get more opportunities to engage. And that's one of the beautiful things about Midland, in my personal opinion, is that I have the ability to have that impact. If I'm living in a larger city, I may not even have time to do this. I may not even have the network and the people connections to do that. So that's within the DAO borders, within my inclusion efforts. If you think about my community engagement, I learn a lot from those conversations. When we have, let's say, an interfaith event and we visit a church, or we have kids visit the Islamic Center of Midland, or people of a specific church visiting us, it's a two-way street. It's not only us presenting to them or them presenting to us. It's a two-way street. And actually, we have had several open house events, interfaith events, that I can't wait to go back to. We have been slowing down a little bit due to COVID. I know COVID seems to be very, history right now, but the 2 years that we were not doing as much, slow down everything, and even the people who are responsible for this, they need time to revive these efforts. So hopefully we'll see more of these activities as we go out of this COVID phase.
Yes, absolutely. And with as a husband, as a father, and just your own self,
Mm-hmm.
what has it opened for you, being able to have that freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and at the same time being in a very different environment?
Yeah, with the freedom of religion, back to my example about delivering the speech, I choose topics that, again, relevant. So whether it's being a good neighbor, or being or pay or contribute into charity, because it's very important aspect of the Islamic religion. By the way, the charity goes to the poor people directly. It doesn't have to go to an organization or anything. So through that preparation, I would need to do my own research. I have to, because I don't want to share something that is not authentic and correct. So I have to do my own research to do it. So learning is a big aspect of this. And also it opened some networking and connections opportunities, because when you are one of 5 individuals delivering that speech, everyone in the community would know who you are, and you get the opportunity to interact with people. Some of them would come and ask you a specific question, and then you start a relationship with them, and it could likely develop to a true friendship moving forward. So on a personal level, it did help me grow my personal network, and most importantly, I feel fulfilled when I do these activities, these efforts. I feel that I have a purpose in life, not just going to. And back to the DAO example, I know many people who chose to work 8 to 5 and have zero engagement. I'm not making any judgments here. This is their decision. They have their other priorities maybe. Mm-hmm. But for me, I cannot just go and do 8 to 5 work and not get engaged, not have a meaningful impact on outside my regular day-to-day. Again, I'm not against the people who choose not to do that, mm-hmm. but it gives me a huge fulfillment feeling. I feel that I'm fulfilling a passion, and I'm living for a purpose.
Mm. And that's powerful, and that spreads to your children and
yes.
your
So
wife.
hopefully I can tell these stories, share these efforts with my kids, so they appreciate me more, and they see what I'm trying to do for them and for the community that they live in, and hopefully they will continue the journey. They will do the same and be the good ambassadors of Islam and ambassadors of the Middle East region and of Syria.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
With the Human Library and the We All Belong, those efforts, I'm curious if there were any specific questions that were either surprising or you felt like were really helpful for the conversation that you were having with the people that were curious about your story.
That's a great question. I do remember a girl asked about the hijab or the headscarf, and she thought that women in the Middle East are forced to wear the hijab. And this is a huge misconception that many people have. No one should be forced to do anything related to religion. The responsibility of the parents is to show and to encourage their kids to, to do the right thing according to the teachings, and this includes the hijab. But as a father, you should not be forcing your daughter to wear the hijab. Now, this might be true, this forcing thing might be true in an isolated village in one of the Middle Eastern countries or one of the Islamic countries. But this has nothing to do with Islam. In Islam, God said that women should wear the hijab, but he did not say that men has to force women to wear the hijab. It's totally up to them, and if they do it, they get the reward for it in the hereafter. If they don't do it, they will be sinful. And just like any other teaching, any Islamic teaching, like you should not be stealing. If you steal, you will be punished for that. Just like for men, they supposed to spend on their families. Like my responsibility as a Muslim man is to provide for my family. My wife has zero financial responsibility in the house. So if I don't spend on the family, I will be sinful. So the question that came really triggered a great conversation about the religion and isolate or separate religion from culture. Culture is hugely impacted by the religion, but at the same time, some cultural practices has nothing to do with Islam. To give you another example, I think the listeners heard about what's happening or what happened in Afghanistan, where the decision was made over there that we don't want to send women to school or girls to school. This is totally against the Islamic teachings. This Muslim men and women are required to seek knowledge, are required to educate themselves. And again, it was a cultural thing. It has nothing to do with the religion. So hopefully this makes sense. And if anyone has doubts or questions, I think they should go to the right source to get these answers. Don't necessarily rely on the media or the internet. Seek the knowledge or seek these questions from someone of that religion or of that culture. Talk to someone and ask them the question. And I have colleagues and friends in the region or in Midland who would reach out to me and they would say, okay, we heard this in the news, what's your perspective? Or is it really what we heard? And it opens the door for broader conversation.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that too. I have been familiar with that question, and I'm glad to have your response on it and to understand more.
Yeah.
So I have a question related to your courage, because to me, as I sit across from you and you share what you have done, how you show up in this community, I'm wondering, what you would share with someone who's maybe either new to the area
Mm-hmm.
or doesn't feel as like they have the gumption, the courage to be themselves, connect
Yeah.
with others in their true identity. What do you share with those people?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think each situation has to be evaluated separately. Midland is different from, another city where someone may not be as comfortable sharing who they are. And I personally know people who, like a female cousin who had to remove her hijab because the area that she was living in was not as welcoming. On the other hand, my wife here and my mother, they wear the hijab and they had absolutely no issues with that. It's the opposite, actually. Some people would approach them and they would say, oh, I like what you're wearing, or this looks very nice on you. That's not the case all over the United States. That's not the case all over the world, unfortunately. So my advice to those individuals is to take it slowly, understand the environment that they live in, and take one step at the time. Like if there's an opportunity to participate in some kind of event or anything, go and try that out. But don't, come out, if we want to use that term, and without kind of calculating the consequences, because there might be some, the community may not be ready for that yet. The Midland is, in my opinion, is lucky to have Dow, lucky to have Northwood, lucky to have Mid-Michigan. These employers are bringing diverse people to the area. This might not be the case everywhere. So the advice would be to suggest small steps and make some good connections with people in the community and share ideas with them, hear what they think, especially those who have been in the community for a longer period of time, because they have seen and interacted with people more. If they feel that there is an opportunity, go ahead and seek that opportunity and pursue that opportunity, because it will help having an impact, and the fulfillment or the feeling after you achieve something is priceless.
Yes, thank you for that too.
Sure.
I hear the practicality and also that building that safety and connection with others who've been there,
Yeah.
or are here, and filling it out as you go.
And by the way, this applies to any type of diversity, whether, again, it's ethnic, racial, even gender. Like if you think of gender diversity, and we'll use one example, like females in male-dominated industries or locations or positions, they face a lot of challenges in those workplaces, and there are efforts that need to be done, but there has to be coordinated efforts, and there has to be you have to work with like the whole population, men and women, in that setting to see what can be done, versus trying to like make major changes that the community or the workplace may not be as ready to have these changes yet.
Yes, and that's the practicality. You know
Yes.
what I'm hearing,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
you're saying, taking it one step at a time, and really understanding your priorities and your values as well.
Yes.
Yes, which is obviously the heart of what you're doing here. So as we come to a close with our conversation, I do want to ask you what your ask is of our listeners. What would you like them to consider as they walk away from this conversation?
Absolutely. I think I shared one already, is to seek knowledge from the right source. Don't rely on what a family member told you about Middle Eastern or about Muslims. Don't rely on what you find online. go to the source, go to the either Islamic Center of Midland, Islamic Center of Sagana. I don't know where our listeners are, but there has to be an Islamic center somewhere near them. So, and if you want to learn more about Islam, about the Islamic faith, go and talk to the people there and ask them all your questions. And if someone doesn't, like if you rush out to someone and they don't know the answer, they will very likely connect you with someone who can answer your question. So that's my first ask. The other thing is don't make assumptions. Don't make assumptions about someone you see speak Arabic, let's say, that they are Muslims, because that's not the case. There are many Arabs who are not Muslims. Majority of Arabs are Muslims, that's for sure, but there are good percentage that don't follow the Islamic faith. Don't make assumption that every Muslim is from the Middle East as well. In fact, the vast majority of Muslims are outside the Middle East, are from countries like India or Pakistan or Bangladesh or Indonesia, who are very far away from the Middle East. So not making assumptions, but appropriately asking the question. I don't think anyone will be offended. Like if you reach out to someone from the Middle East and ask them politely, like depending on your relationship with them, of course, and what's the purpose of the question. But you can ask them the question, and you know, if they are fasting Ramadan, for example, if they are observing the month of Ramadan, so you can be more inclusive to them. But don't just assume that they are fasting because they are from the Middle East or because they are speaking Arabic. The last ask is if you see or witness somebody being discriminated against, or someone being hurt in some way verbally because who they are, and again this applies to all types of diversity, try to intervene if you feel it's appropriate. You will make the best judgment on how much you want to intervene, but if you don't talk to the person who's making the negative comment or doing that, if you don't feel that this is appropriate, at least reach out to the impacted person and show them. You don't have to apologize, obviously, because it's not your fault, but show them that you stand with them, you empathize with them, and you appreciate their diversity and appreciate them as a person. So intervene in a way that is appropriate and support the impacted person. And also, my fourth ask would be educate your family members, your kids, about the value of inclusion and the value of diversity. Because we live in a diverse world, whether people admit that or not, whether people like that or not, it is a diverse world that we live in. And again, diversity, every person is a diverse person in some way or shape or form. So it's a beautiful thing. We should celebrate our diversity, and everyone brings something new to the table. Everyone brings something new to the conversation, to the workplace, to the school, to the you can name it. So try to educate others about the value of inclusion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for this conversation today, Raheef. We appreciate you here with us on the podcast and in our community. We wish you and your family well.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I wish you all the best for the future podcast as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can stay connected with the Visibility Project by subscribing, liking, and sharing on your favorite podcasting and social apps. Look for us at the Visibility PRJ.
Financial support is needed to keep the conversation going. Go to midlandfoundation.org/give and select the Cultural Awareness Coalition Endowment Fund to be part of the project. Note podcast in your donation notes.
Thank you for listening.
We see you.
We hear you.
And together, we are making a difference.